Dude, I'm telling you, my hair's going to be as long as yours because we're not allowed, NBA quarantine, we're not allowed to go out and get haircuts, nothing.
So you're gonna have to grow it out. This is 2 years for me. I've been working hard on
Yeah.
this.
When I was in high school, mine was almost as long as that, but I cut it for college.
You cut it for college, and then it's never been the same since. It's never.
It's been bushy, but never down to my shoulders.
That's awesome. Well, I really, really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me.
Where do you want to start?
Um, well, I'd love to start at the beginning. You've always committed to outworking everyone around you, and you seem to have that DNA built in. So, was it always like that, kind of
I mean,
formed
I've
that?
always been a hustler and a grinder as long as I can remember. When I was a kid, it was always about making money because we didn't have a lot. But as I got older, it really just became about freedom and having my own time. My dad did upholstery on cars, and it was 6, sometimes 7 days a week that he was working, and just was always in pain when he came home. And he always really tried to to let me know that the one thing in life you don't own is your time. When if you're working for somebody else, you're always going to you're at somebody else's command, and he never liked that. At young ages, I would be buying and selling everything from trash bags door to door to baseball cards to stamps and coins, you name it. He would just tell me, I don't have a clue what you're doing. You've got to figure it out. And that kind of propelled me because that's what I've always done. I've just figured it out. At the beginning, it wasn't like, okay, I need more money than everybody, and it never became that. It was how much money do I need so I could just quit working and just party like a rock star.
How much was that in there? When you
So I sold my first company about when I was 29, 30 years old, and that was $5 million. And I ended up with what I had to bank about two and a half, $3 million after taxes.
how did you get that urge to start another company and start AudioNet?
I was doing really well. I mean, I had more money than I ever dreamed of at that point. And my buddy from college, Todd Wagner, and I used to get together all the time just to have lunch and just shoot the shit. He's like, look, I've been talking and thinking about this new internet thing. This is late 94. And he's like, there's got to be a way that we can listen to Indiana basketball over the internet. Because at that point in time, we'd get a bunch of guys together and put a speakerphone there. And then we'd all be sitting drinking beer by a speakerphone, and somebody else in Bloomington, Indiana would have a speakerphone next to a radio. And I'm like, okay, let me figure it out. I've done networking before. There's got to be a way to do this.
Yeah, and so you kind of fell into it, I guess.
I really believe the internet's going to be the next broadcast medium, and we're going to just blow up television. And if it works, this is going to be a $5 billion company. If it doesn't, we'll be friends. So that's the mission. If y'all are in, let's go. And so we just started going for it.
That's amazing. And then it was a pretty quick ride right into the
Yeah,
Yahoo
those are the
acquisition.
big ones, yeah.
I think oftentimes people look at that retroactive, we're like, oh, that was like the worst acquisition that Yahoo made. But you were onto something, right? Because what you foresaw has happened, right? Like,
Yeah, there's two different things. Why did Yahoo buy it, and what did they do with it afterwards?
right.
Now, did Yahoo screw it up? Hell yeah, they did, right? There, when the stock bubble burst, and their board said, we just got to cut everything. So they cut everything they had, except for the basics, and screwed it up bad. And they'd admit that now. But, if you look at the things that we did back then, we dominated streaming.
Yeah.
Period, end of story. We were YouTube. We had, user uploaded content, mostly businesses at that point in time. But we had self-generated content. We had live shows that people put on. We had, live comedy shows. We had on demand like this. But then Yahoo got it, and it was unfortunate. The market, when the internet stock market crashed, you know, their board, it wasn't even the CEO or anything. Their board just went nuts and closed everything.
That's too bad. But I mean, it worked out in the end. Fast forward, you sold it to Yahoo, became a billionaire. Everyone probably thinks, Mark Cuban, you've got it figured out in 2020. But like, what's the pandemic been like for you?
I mean, like everybody else, it's scary. The anxiety levels are enormous, and it doesn't matter how much money you have. That virus don't give a shit, right?
Yeah.
And and so I got kids. My kids are 11, 14, and 17, and so I'm terrified about them. But I think a lot of things have come out of this that'll be positive. We pay more attention to vaccines. I think that we're going to see some blockchain-based companies that just change the game, change the music game, change the digital goods game, And when we look back, we'll look at the pandemic of 2020, particularly the summer, and say, okay, that was the inflection point for a lot of blockchain-based applications.
Oh, actually, I wanted to ask you about one of those, because I'm particularly interested in NFTs and like the culture
Yeah.
around, what is real value, right? What's the store of value? What are people interested in buying? And I want to just get your thoughts on like where do you think the
Sure.
future of the
So,
NFT market is going?
so like I was always a baseball cards guy. Like, like here's my Luka Doncic rookie card, right? And so
Yeah,
I got it. And it, and like I told you before, I sold stamps when I was a kid. And what I learned then, and it still holds now, there's so much hassle involved in dealing with physical goods. But the sense of ownership, when you think about digital goods like the moments, you still have the sense of ownership, right? That's mine. I bought that. That serial number is mine, just like this serial number for Luka Doncic is mine. But I got none of the hassles.
yeah,
You know, there's a marketplace there to give me value. I don't have to worry about grading it. I don't have to worry about shipping it or receiving it. I don't have to worry about, who's the buyer on the other side and who's trustworthy and who's not. All those things are taken care of. And so you get all the benefits of owning a physical collectible without the hassles.
how do you think that manifests for music and movies and other media forms?
Let's
Yeah,
look at digital art. I went and I took some things that we created for the Mavs and I put them online. I minted them and then I put them on through Mintable and then I put it on Rarible, which also puts it on Rarible.com and OpenSea.io,
yeah.
places which are marketplaces where people can see them and value them and buy and sell them. And so I went to Mint there just so I could learn and get the experience. And all of a sudden there was this little checkbox, where it says if you'd like to keep on getting paid every time there's a transaction. And I was just like, oh my God, this is the holy grail right there. So the first thing I put on there was 10%. And, because it's me and da 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 da, some people came and bought it because it was a series of 10, a little GIF that I did. And people bought it and it kept on reselling. And every time it got resold, I made 10% of. So fast forward and think, okay, what else can this be applied to that's digital? Well, music, right? Photography. So if you're a professional photographer, you literally could ask for 90% of any future transaction in the event someone decided to resell it. And you could decide whether or not to convey a commercial license. That's just one of the check boxes as well. So that if I want to sell this picture I took at the inauguration for $100 and convey the commercial right to it, okay, I just sold it. I don't have to go through a broker or whatever. And if the person who bought it used it twice, decided they don't need it anymore and put it on the marketplace and wants to resell it for 50 bucks, great. I get $5 every time, when that sells.
It's interesting because it's bringing back this concept of like your digital goods have value.
The key is you keep on getting paid.
Yeah, yeah. As it kind of solves that problem of like the used good marketplace for the originator of the thing, and then like the buyer, the consumer feeling like there's still some store of value.
And that just dawned on me, and it was just like, this is like the early internet days all over again. So coming up with these types of applications, I'd be going nuts, right? I mean, literally, I'd be going to every musician I know right now, or I'd introduce myself like I did back in the day with broadcast, be like, you don't understand internet broadcasting, but let me just tell you how I'm going to help you, right? And we're going to take what you're doing in ABC. That's exactly what I'd be doing right now. Exactly.
Well, switching tacks a little bit, but like, how do you stay fresh on all this stuff, and how do you keep your sense of curiosity?
I mean, it's just, Steve Jobs famously said everything's a remix, right? And that's what I learned early on in technology. When I was first getting started, like I told myself that there's two people in the world when it came to technology. There's the people who created it and there's everybody else. And I was tied with everybody else. And so if I just put in the work, then I could get ahead of the everybody else's. May not know as much as the creators, but if I dealt with the creators, then they could teach me more. And then as I just started doing that more and more and more, reading the manuals, reading books about it, whatever it took, you started to understand all the concepts. And then every step along that, there's commonalities all the way through. So now I know if I keep up with it, whether it's artificial intelligence, whether it's blockchain, whether it's tokens, NFT, whatever it is, there are common threads across all of those things, right, that make it easier to understand. And then the Shark Tank side of me says, okay, what type of applications can I use to create from all this stuff that could be a good business?
I'd like to talk a little bit about failure. Were there any failures that, in hindsight were just super valuable and like set you on the
All
path?
of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of them. Yeah. I mean, I learned more from the places I got fired from and the places I worked that I hated than I did from the places I liked. I learned what not to do. I got fired because I went to close a sale, instead of opening up a retail store and sweeping the floor, yada, yada, thinking that when I brought back a check from a closed deal, he would be all excited and he fired me. Um, I learned from that sales cures all. That company was out of business not much later,
Yeah.
and you know it just taught me so many lessons about how to deal with things, how to treat people, what to focus on, and that led to me getting started, and also taught me that when I was living six guys in a three-bedroom apartment, I had nothing to lose.
I love that. Now, what's the kindest thing that anyone's ever done for you?
That's a great question though that I've never been asked. Family first and foremost has always been there for me. When I've gone through difficult times, but I think that's just it. Knowing my family is there. Outside my family, just having my friends. So I've got all these friends that are always there for me that I'm still close with. That I still consider will always be lifelong friends. And I think that's what's been most important because just knowing that they're still my friends. Even though my circumstances may have changed more dramatically than others, that there's still that sense of normalcy and it's still the same nicknames, still the same shit talk, still the same everything, and that they've always been there for me.
That's beautiful. Like life's all about your relationships, right? That's the
Yeah,
kind of the most
sure.
important thing that anybody has. So, how do you manage your time? How you're doing like
So
everything, you have like so many things going on. What's the day
I mean,
look like?
effectively, I don't do calls or meetings. I do events like this, right? Podcasts, interviews, just because I think they're interesting in this case. Um, but traditionally in a business or as an investor, you're meeting with a lot of people, right? You're getting on the phone with a lot of people. I just don't. I've got if there's meetings that need to place, I have people who work for me that they don't mind doing meetings. But for the last 20 years, um, if you need me, you email me like you did back in
Yeah,
the day, right? And so I do everything via email. I don't need to sit in a meeting and ask, where's the coffee? Where's the donuts? Where are the cupcakes, right? How are the kids? And then you're just going to tell me what I already know. And, or what, you can tell me all that in an email and I can go back and forth. And the beauty of it is that now I have 25 years worth of email. So when I saw you reach out to me, I'm like, okay, when did Justin first reach out to me? I can just go look it up, and there it was, asking about Justin.tv. And to me, that value is more important than the time I spend in a meeting.
that's interesting because your email it's like an extension of your memory. I was actually trying to look up our first conversation. I think I did reach out to you, like must have been 12 years ago or something about Justin TV, and we were trying to get you to invest in the company, which we
Okay.
idea and the way we were presenting it was terrible. I'm sure. So I don't.
Well, what you ended up doing, I mean, it was cool. I liked the initial concept, but I think I told you I didn't want to get back in the streaming industry because I knew how much work was involved. And then you evolved it, which was brilliant, and took it in a completely different direction. So yeah, now I feel like an idiot, but at the same time, you get all the credit because you took it in a completely different direction.
Yeah, you would never have known. We were like kind of lost in the dark for years trying to figure it out, and there was the copyright concerns and the costs were like exorbitant. We were just kind of barely at a certain point we were 10 million in revenue and 10 million in costs to like of infrastructure basically and the support staff. And that was like it was a terrible business. But then
No, but that was a win to be break even like that. That was
yeah,
a huge step in the right direction
yeah.
because those stair step costs. Because when you want to start streaming back then, you needed to spend on the servers and the people and the bandwidth and pay those bills, and then you got the revenue.
Yeah, that first I remember when we launched it in 2007, we launched our own show, like me streaming to the
Yeah.
internet, and we spent $30,000 in the first month on like streaming costs, and that was like all the money we had in the bank. That like our remaining thing we were like,
And that was the problem, right?
yeah,
That's why I did not want to get back into the business. But
yeah,
to your credit, right, you stuck it out,
yeah.
and that was the key more than anything, I'm guessing.
Yeah, for sure. Like just surviving long enough for the bandwidth cost to come down, internet advertising revenue to go up.
Go
Now,
back up, yep.
we kind of survived that 5 or 6 years until it happened. Actually, I have another question. Do you have a favorite Shark Tank behind the scenes story? Like, is there some?
Oh, there's so many of them.
Yeah.
There's so many of them. Um, most of the time, so Shark Tank, when you come on, they might last anywhere from 30 minutes for a stupid deal to 60 to 90 minutes. So in real time, they go on forever, and a lot gets edited out. And there's just times, particularly Lori, where she'll say something and didn't realize that it's completely inappropriate. And so, because she just doesn't think that way. And so it's a complete double entendre. And so one time, she'll kill me for saying this. So one time we had a vitamin company, and I hate vitamin companies on Shark Tank because they make all these claims, any supplements, right? And so they came on, and it was spray, and the guy's sitting there, and he goes, a lot of people have problems swallowing vitamins, pills, right? So we created this spray.
Over 100 million people in the United States alone cannot or have difficulty swallowing pills. What's worse?
It's a scam! She goes, I have no problem swallowing. And we just died the minute, because, guys don't understand. And then, her husband's back in the back laughing, and then it dawned on her what she had just said.
Awesome. Mark, thank you so much. That was
Thank you,
a
Justin.
fun conversation.
It really was. I really enjoyed it. And thanks for the question.
All right, guys, that was the short version of my episode with Mark Cuban. If you want to see full episodes of The Quest, make sure to check out the Quest YouTube channel and subscribe. Turn on post notifications. You know what to do. All right. See you guys next time.